All right. We had very briefly last class kind of given an introduction into this time period. Obviously, from the headline, we're going to be looking at Ahab, Jezebel, and Elijah primarily. But it's also good for any story or any historical event to have some background. Why did it happen in this area? Why were these people involved? Why did they act in this way and not another way? So it's important to give some background. We know from the split about Rehoboam and Jeroboam, Rehoboam wanted to keep control of this area, but the northern tribes were tired of the house of David, taxing them to death. And they said, look, you got to lower the burden or we're out of here. And Rehoboam made the mistake of listening to his young friends. He was going to be a big tough guy, and boom, the once unified house of David in Solomon's kingdom was no more. The 10 tribes in the north, centered primarily in Ephraim, are going to split away from the house of David, and now there are 2 Israelite kingdoms, one in the north and one in the south, as we know. Now, the catalyst for all this was the taxation, because remember, Solomon loved to build things. He was a great builder. He built his own house. He built the temple as well, but he built other places, like the Tower of Milo and some other places. The big house where he kept all of the armor and stuff like that, the golden shields. Anyways, this cost money. This cost time. This cost effort. And people were tired of building stuff for Solomon. So anyways, Jeroboam is going to be the first king of Israel as of the northern kingdoms. He's going to found the kingdom and his family, and he's actually going to do pretty well. And God actually tells him, we're not going to look this up, but God actually tells him, if you follow me, if you follow my commands, if you worship me appropriately, I will be with you and your family. I won't take the kingdom away from you. Unfortunately, Jeroboam makes the decision not to worship God appropriately. He's going to what? He's going to set up his own religion and their own rituals based upon the rituals of Yahweh from the law. Let's not forget this. In their minds, the northern Israelites were worshiping Yahweh in their own way. And it was really an amalgamation of the worship of Baal and the worship of Yahweh, kind of like, melding them together. It's pretty interesting. And he makes 2 calves, right? One up in the north, up in Tel Dan. You can actually go there and check out the golden calf. It's not there, but the platform is, and the altar and all that. We showed some pictures last Saturday. And also in Bethel. Bethel, which is interesting, is one of the first sites that God is going to reveal himself to Jacob. Remember that? This is where Jacob saw the angels going up and down the ladder. And so Bethel, the house of God. And so Jeroboam is going to take over Bethel and make it like a cultic center for Yahweh based upon the golden calf. And we know he did this to prevent people coming down from the north, coming down to Jerusalem to worship at the temple. He wanted to prevent that. He wanted to prevent that interaction. And that's what he did. It actually worked out great. In the short term. In the long term, it was one of the reasons why he's going to completely lose his kingdom to the Assyrians eventually. There is going to be massive wars between Judah, between Rehoboam and Abijah. He's going to lose territory, actually, to Judah, which is interesting as well. And he's going to die naturally. There's no... one of his sons is going to die too. Remember, he asked the prophet whether or not his son is going to live, and he said no. And it says that God found something good in the child. So that's an interesting story. The picture here is a picture of Shechem, the ancient city of Shechem. This is going to be the very first capital of the northern tribes. It's not going to stay the capital. It's going to move actually 2 more times. It's going to stay in Shechem, then it's going to move to Tisra, which is a little bit north, and then once Omri builds Samaria isn't going to exist during the time of Jeroboam. It's just going to be a hill. But Omri, the father of Ahab, is going to buy this hill, and he's going to build a pretty massive city on it that's going to be very prosperous for a period of time. Okay, just like Solomon was a great builder, the house of Omri and his son Ahab are going to be builders as well. And you can actually go to Samaria today and kind of check out exactly where where the walls were and stuff like that. All right, so that's Jeroboam. We're going to go pretty quickly through these, okay, just to kind of give you an overview. Nadab, not a whole lot is said about King Nadab. Very short reign of, like a year. Can't really do a whole lot in a year. He is going to besiege a city in Philistia called Gibbethon, but he's going to be assassinated there. Someone's going to kill him, okay? He is the first recorded king, Israelite king, to be assassinated. All right? Well, you could say Ishbosheth, right? Ishbosheth was kind of assassinated as well, but he's going to be assassinated. Didn't really do anything. Hostile relations with Judah. Okay? All right, now Baasha was the third king of Israel, and he's going to be a pretty good king. He's going to get the throne by killing Nadab and Jeroboam's family. In a very short period of time, there's going to be a lot of assassinations, families coming in, new families coming in. And so Jeroboam's family going to be wiped out. Going to be wiped out. And that actually happens quite a bit in the ancient world, where one family grows to prominence and power, and they kill off all their rivals. That's been going on since the beginning of time. Let's take a look at this in 1 Kings, in the 15th chapter of 1 Kings. You can see kind of some of the politics that are going on here in 1 Kings 15, in verse 17. Well, verse 16, and there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days, so they didn't get along. And Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and built Ramah, that he might not suffer any to go out or come in to Asa, king of Judah. So he built like a fortified city, and used it to prevent any supplies or any people from coming into Jerusalem. They were going to starve them out. And they built this kind of fortified city to prevent trade or anything from happening in Jerusalem. Verse 18, then Asa took all the silver and gold that were left in the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, and he makes a league with them. So Judah is going to take all of the, their treasures that they had, both in the house of God and in Asa's own house, and he's going to give it to Ben-Hadad, who was the king of Syria, which was north of Israel. And Syria is going to come down and invade Israel. And because of that, Baasha can't finish the fortification of Ramah and the defeat of Jerusalem. So that worked out. That political move by Asa worked out. It cost him probably millions and millions of dollars. But he prevented Baasha from strangling Jerusalem. Let's see. Yep, so we talked about that as well. So in that 15th chapter, in verse 6, verse 20, so Ben-Hadad hearkened unto King Asa, and sent the captains of the hosts which he had against the cities of Israel, and smote Ijon and Dan and Abel Beth-Maachah, and all Cinneroth, and all the land of Naphtali. So he left off building Ramah. And so this gives us a little insight, brothers and sisters, into some of the politics that is going on here. Israel the northern tribes had no qualms about making leagues with non-Israelites, and so does Judah as well. And this is going to transpire for the next few hundred years, where these small kingdoms of Israel and Judah are trying to make leagues with stronger nations like Syria, Assyria, Babylon, and of course Egypt. And sometimes their political maneuvers are going to work out, but other times it's not. And one of the worst political maneuvers or decisions is going to be made by Hezekiah, right? He's going to open up all of the stores, all of his wealth, and the ambassadors of Babylon are going to see everything, and it's going to be the catalyst for them, obviously, to come and take over Jerusalem, to put pressure on Egypt. So there's going to be a lot of war, obviously, between these two. And so war never really strengthens a country that are evenly matched. And so this is going to be a kind of continual thing between the northern tribes and the southern tribes. You know, Judah never really got over the fact that they lost control of the north. Their hold on the north really was very tenuous, as we're going to see, because of geographical issues. And we talked about it last Sunday, that Israel, the northern tribes, had access to the coast. Judah did not. And that can be a problem, right? You can control your coastline. You can control trade quite a bit more. And that's what's going to happen with northern Israel. During the time of Ahab that we'll see next class, he's going to make a league, actually going to become almost one with the Phoenicians, who are up in the north. And we'll take a look at that a little bit. The Phoenicians, you want to talk about a group of people that had completely different views than Israel? Yeah, those were the Phoenicians. And we can take a look at that too in Isaiah and also in Ezekiel in our next class, where God kind of lays it on the line about the issues that he had with the Phoenicians. You know, they were so obsessed with the making of money and commerce that they forgot about other people. They forgot about the weak, the needy. They forgot about justice. And in fact, if we look at the prophet Hosea, which we will later on, those are the same types of things that God is talking about to Israel as well. They had become rich and powerful under the house of Omri. And under Ahab, they had become very powerful. But they had forgotten about the poor and the weak in the land, and they were just interested in gaining more power, more wealth, and more control. So again, that's a story as old as time, isn't it? One person or one group of people just kind of takes all of the power and the control and all of the wealth of other people, and they oppress them. And that's what was going on, unfortunately, in Israel. That's what we're going to see. Questions, comments before we go on? A couple sips of coffee. Hold on here. Okay.
So, Rich, when you talk about Rama,
Yes.
this is a city that's
When you talk about Ramah, it's a city that's north of Jerusalem, south of Israel.
Yes.
And it's like a buffer.
It was built primarily to strangle trade with Jerusalem. So they right on the main road there, they built Ramah, and it was like a fortification, and they were expanding it so that they could prevent any trade coming from Jerusalem and going anyplace else.
From Jerusalem? Or
From Jerusalem and to Jerusalem as well. In both ways, yeah. And so it was really Israel's way, or Baash's way, of kind of just putting Jerusalem like in the corner, right? And no one's going in, no one's coming out. And it was a way just to strangle them.
And so Baasha is forming an alliance with King Hadad, who was in an alliance with his father.
Right. So
Yeah.
So Asa actually makes the alliance with Ben-Hadad to come down and invade Israel, because Baasha was building the city of Ramah. And I think it says there too, Steve, that because they left off building Ramah, they had all of this building materials that they took, and then they built certain aspects of Jerusalem with this building material. They strengthened Jerusalem with it, like the walls and fortifications and stuff like that. So that was interesting. One last thing. during the time of the fall of Jerusalem to the Babylonians, Ramah is going to be the place where they're going to the Babylonians are going to divide up the booty from the capture and destruction of Jerusalem. And this is where in Jeremiah it says that Rachel was weeping for her children in Ramah, and she could not be comforted because, families were being split up. They were being taken slaves out of their land. So there's quite a bit of history having to do with Ramah. It was an important city, or became an important city. All right. Zimri. Elah is not, again, 1 year. He's assassinated while he gets drunk. Okay? Not great. What are you known for? I was killed while drunk. Oh, okay. So again, this is just another example of political instability in the early years of Israel. This is going to be the second guy that's going to be assassinated up in the north. Now, we don't have this political instability down in the south in Jerusalem. You still have the house of David continuing on, being passed on to their sons. There isn't really a whole lot of assassination going on, so there is some political stability. And that's really one of the reasons why it's going to continue for as long as it did. Israel is not going to have political stability. There's going to be, usurpers that are going to come along. They're going to kill the previous king and the family, and this is just going to be a continued upheaval. There's going to be certain kings that are going to bring stability, like Jeroboam II. He's going to bring stability. Ahab and Omri, they're going to bring stability. I know we don't like to hear that, but in some ways, Ahab did bring political stability. And so Zimri, he's going to be a military commander. He's going to end up killing Elah and Baash's family. And he's going to rule for 7 whole days. And so there's going to be carnage and civil war. And I think he commits suicide by fire. He sets the whole palace on fire, I believe, is the story. And he dies within this fire. What a way to go. So no real accomplishments. And he's going to have a brief rivalry between Omri and Timni. And Omri is going to be victorious. He's going to beat these guys. He's going to unify the kingdom. Let's take a look in 1 Kings 16. Then were the people of Israel, talking about the northern tribes, divided into 2 parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ganath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ganath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned. This is, I don't want to say this is aggravating, but it is kind of aggravating to me from a historical point of view. There's more to this story. I want to know the details of how this went down. We have this little statement, but I'd love to know more details about this. Half and half. It was like a big civil war, and we get 2 verses on a massive civil war. It's not right. So anyways, Omri is going to take over all of the north. And that's going to be a good thing for Israel because it's going to end the civil war. It brings stability, and they get a brand new capital out of it called Samaria. Let's take a look at this in 16. Verse 23. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah. Now think of this. All this is happening, by the way, brothers and sisters, while Asa is reigning. There's just one stable king in Judah, while up in the north, civil war, assassinations, drunk guys getting killed, another one being burnt in the fire, instability like you wouldn't believe. Down in Judah, smooth and easy, baby, right? Asa's the only guy. He's there for 31 years. It's unheard of. Okay? Omri began to reign. He's going to reign 12 years. 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. Okay? So that's where he's going to reign for 6 years. He's going to make that, that's really where the capital of the northern tribes were. After Shechem, they're going to move it up to Tirzah. Well, let's see what happens then. And he brought the hill Samaria of Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built after the name of Shemer, owner of the hill, Samaria. And so he is going to buy this area on this. It's a hill, okay, and he's going to build a city on top of it. And so here is Omri moving the capital city from Tirzah to a capital that he is going to build. It's a much better location. It's a stronger area. That's on that picture right there. It's an AI picture. You can put like different parameters in it. I think it makes Samaria look probably a little bigger than it was, but I think it's pretty cool. And then it said, do you want to add some like vineyards on the outside? Yes, I do. Vineyards. Then it said you want to add terraces. Yes, terraces. So this is the picture that it came up with. I think it's pretty cool. Silence phones, please. So Omri is going to, become king. He's going to found Samaria, a fortified hilltop city. It is going to last quite a. It's going to last, even though it's going to be, taken captive or try to be taken captive by the Assyrians and other people. It's actually a very well fortified city. It's going to last, I think, 3 years. Remember, Jerusalem is only going to last a year when they are attacked by the Babylonians. Samaria is going to last 3 years. Okay, so, differences. Whether or not it was because of the geography or because of a lot of different things. But we talk about Samaria being defeated and the northern tribes being defeated by the Samaritans. Not by the Assyrians. They just didn't roll over and give up. They fought for a very long period of time. But in the end, they're just too strong. So, so two big things that Omri is going to do. Number one, he's going to build Samaria, the new capital city. It's kind of like what Constantine did. He moved the capital city from Rome out into Byzantium and changed it to my city, Constantinople, my city. Pretty sweet. And so this is what Omri is going to do as well. The second big thing he's going to do, he's going to ally himself with the Phoenicians. In fact, he is going to have his son Ahab marry a beautiful, stable, ethical, moral Phoenician princess called Brenda. Seeing if you were paying attention, Sister Brenda. Jezebel, right? I remember when my girls were little, and we'd go over Wes and Brenda's house. And Wes, I don't know, I think McKinsey had like some nail polish on or something like that. So Wes would go, "Oh, what do you got, what are you doing? You looking like a Jezebel over there?" That was pretty funny. So, and that's, Jezebel has obviously a negative connotation, obviously, as we're going to see. So, all right, any questions on this?